Hey guys, it's Simon with DriveFlyRC again. Today we're going to be building this awesome little machine, Y6 by Rakon Heli, the 280RY. Beautiful design by Rakon. Thank you very much, Rakon, for hooking us up with this so we have an opportunity to show our audience and hopefully help some people out in the building process. We're going to be using the frame provided by Rakon. This is the main body, a LemonRX 6 SunnySky 1806 motors, a 5-bolt Beck, 6 20-amp BLHELI DYS ESCs provided by HeliNation.com. Thank you, Heli Nation. And also CC3D and the Rakon Heli power distribution board. We're going to go ahead and get started by mounting all the motors to the arms. Check out this design. I'm just kind of blown away by the craftsmanship and the detail put into this motor mount. Very cool design. So good job, Rakon. Again, thank you, Rakon Heli. Let's go ahead and get started. Start by disassembling the arm. You're going to take it apart, take it off of the carbon fiber tube arm, and then take out these bolts here, here, and here, and the ones on the top as well, so that we can mount the motors on the inside there. And this will get one motor on top, one motor on bottom. Then we'll run the wires in through the tube arm. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we've mounted the motors. Basically, I guess you just need to take off the bolts on the outside here. You can leave it attached to the arm if you want. But go ahead and mount the motors with the 4 bolts, and then you're just going to go ahead and put this back on like this and bolt the bolts on. So let's go ahead and do that. Gone ahead and mounted all the motors to the arms here. Just a quick note, you want to note that if you do have different directional nuts on top, if they're not all clockwise motors, you do want the clockwise motors on the top and the counterclockwise motors on the bottom, so that they tighten correctly when the motor spins. So just a note there. Now that we've gone ahead and mounted all 6 motors, we can go ahead and connect it to the main body of the frame. Using these clamps right here, you'll see 3 screws on the bottom. You're going to take out this middle one, or loosen it until it's a little lower, and then loosen this as well, and the arm should slide in. You're going to replace this screw, and then clamp it down by using this screw. We've gone ahead and mounted the arms to the clamps there. You can see on the bottom that we've entered the middle screw into the arm and then tightened it down with the clamping mechanism using this screw right here, and the same for the other motors. And now we're ready to move on to the next part, which we're going to go ahead and mount the landing gear now and get this up off the ground. Alright, go ahead and attach the skids to the arm. The screws are already in there. Just loosen those 2 screws and washers. And you're just going to go ahead and mount it just like that. Now that we've gone ahead and attached the carbon fiber skid, we'll go ahead and attach this to the plate. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, we've gone ahead and mounted the landing gear. You can see how I did that with these holes there. There's actually 2 sets of holes. I assume it's just to make them a little wider if you need to. It's fairly balanced. I mean, you can't push it forward. You can tilt it back, but it should be counteracted by the props. Looks fairly solid. It's starting to look like a Y6 now. Now that we've come this far, what you're going to do is install, take off the ends of the motors, or the motors off the ends of the arms, and then you're going to install 2 ESCs in each arm. Now, you're going to need these specific ESCs for it to fit like this. It is a super tight fit, so make sure that you don't get this snagged on there. And you put them sticker in towards each other. Run the motor wires out for each ESC, and then run the power and ground towards the middle. And now we'll install the Brake and Pdb, and we'll go ahead and wire that up. Alright, so we've gone ahead and mounted the power distribution board to the frame. It just goes right against the frame. There's no power negative on the bottom of this particular PDB, which is really cool. Basically what you're going to want to do is take each ESC, take the one closest here, and put it there, the one furthest, and put it in through the hole and then to the outside. So you have it on both sides like that, and then in the rear you're just going to run it to the two closest ones. After you're done, if you have any flux left over like this, make sure that you remove that. Now we're going to install the 5-volt Beck and the power cables. Alright, so we've gone ahead and installed the Beck and the power wire. You're going to make sure that's pretty tight, not a lot of slop at all. You have props underneath here, keep in mind, and they're going to come pretty close to any of your battery wires, so you're going to want to make sure that you keep that nice and clean. Alright, now that we've got the Beck and the power cable soldered on, go ahead and cover up these with some liquid black tape just to make sure they're covered, and we'll go ahead and install the motors. You want to make sure that these wires are cut to a length in which once you solder on the wires from the motor that you can push them into the tube. So you don't want too long of wires hanging off here, so this can be a little tricky. Make sure that you don't get either ESC wire mixed up with the other ESC wire, or you'll have a lot of problems, okay? Make sure these are trimmed as well and prepped, and then you're going to joint these together, and then before you do that, actually you're going to want to add some shrink tubing on there. Make sure those are shrink tube very well and solder those on there, paying mind to testing which motor direction it's spinning. If it's spinning the wrong direction, you'll have to switch one of the wires with another one. Just switch any two wires. Now the way that you do test that is you'll have your LemonRX soldered up here, or you'll have it bound to your receiver, and then what you'll do is plug in the ESC to the throttle channel, and then plug the power in and spin up the motor. Once it's attached, of course, then you can test motor direction like that. Now you see I don't have any pins on this particular one. I'm doing just a little bit different build. I recommend you using pins unless you have a lot of skill in soldering. I am going to directly solder all the wires for every single ESC on here, but you don't have to do that. If you have pins, please use them. I'm using a full-size CC3D, and I'm going to do it pinless and just direct solder them to the board. So remove the pins from this. You're just going to want to lay the Beck down. It should fit like right there. Cover up some of these connections with liquid black tape if you want, just to keep them away from moisture and stuff like that. You can see the wires I have running out. Basically, I ran the front two wires through this little hole in the Delrin frame support, and in the back here they're just going to be running up straight to the board, just like that, and then we'll zip tie them right there. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do next, is go ahead and mount this on there. You can glue it, or if you use tape, there's not really enough room or to stick the CC3D on top. It does hold it on there if you just stick the board on top of it, so that's just what I'm going to do. And then we'll go ahead and solder up each motor wire, the signal wire and the ground wire, to the flight controller. Now, as you can see, I've removed the pins on this. If you're using like a naze or something like that, you're going to want pins that go out to the right, and then you're going to want to probably move this to a different location, maybe up front, and then mount it right here, just so that you have enough room for your pins coming out the side, and then run all your connections to your pins that way. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and lay these out, and then I'll put a little diagram up showing the motor order for a Y6. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll go ahead and apply them to the board like that, and then also connect the Beck directly to one of the power and ground on these. So since we have 6 motors and we have a power and ground from the Beck, we're going to remove one of the ground wires from the Beck. It's not needed. It does just reduce signal noise, but I think that you should be fine in this particular instance wiring it up like this. So we're going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'll show you the finished product here all soldered up. Alright guys, now we've soldered each individual ESC to the CC3D board. I just wired it there directly and soldered it to each pad. Now if you're not very good at soldering, I don't recommend this. There's a lot that can go wrong. Just stay to the pins if you have them, unless you're confident in your ability to do so. So we've also cleaned up some of the wires with the little ESCs and taken the negative wire from ESC 6 and cut it and protected it with some heat shrink and zip tied it to the other line so it won't be flopping around or anything like that. And then taken the Beck cables and soldered them to the pinout 6. We're going to install the receiver that we've got everything all wired up here. What you're going to do is plug this into the flex port right there, and then we'll run each one of these lines into the receiver. Now they just go basically in order here. So this is your ground, power, channel 1 is white, channel 2 is purple, channel 3 is the first yellow, channel 4 is green, channel 5 is yellow, channel 6 is black. You can remove this pin, channel 6, as it's not needed, but I like to leave it in anyway in case I decide to use it for something later. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll get the receiver and figure out a nice mounting point for it. Alright, we've gone ahead and soldered all these connections to the LemonRX. Again, I wouldn't attempt this unless you're decent at soldering. You can use the pins and the pin headers, and I'll do a short cutout here showing how to connect it to the receiver. It just goes straight across basically from channel 1 all the way through channel 6, and then you start on the throttle channel here and then go straight across all the way to channel 6. So now we're going to go ahead and, before we mount this, we're going to run through ground control station and get this flight controller set up and go from there. So here we go. Go ahead and plug in the CC3D with the USB port in the back. It should say installing drivers. Once that's done, we can move on to the next step. Alright, after it's installed the drivers, go ahead and open up ground control station. The latest version for CC3D is 15.02. It says the firmware the firmware doesn't match. So basically you just click OK, go to your vehicle setup wizard. You know it's connected by these little lights down here. Okay, that way you know it's communicating. Click on vehicle setup wizard, click next. Now here's where you're going to upgrade the firmware. Go ahead and click upgrade. So now it's uploading the firmware. Sorry for a shaky cam, guys. It's going to reboot the board now. Wait for that next to be highlighted. Okay, now the board has been updated. Go ahead and click next. You can go ahead and click next. It shows that it's connected here. You're going to be running in PWM. So select your output and click next. This is a multi-rotor. Click next. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and select hexacopter or hexacopter coax Y6. This should show the motor layout 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like we talked about. We are using rapid ESCs. You're probably using rapid ESCs or one-shot ESCs. Most people don't use standard ESCs, especially on this small build. This is just a connection diagram you can take a look at. And then we're going to calculate level for the quad. So go ahead and lay the quad on a level surface like this, and then click calculate. We'll calculate out the gyro and accelerometer here. Go ahead and click next. We're going to calibrate the ESC. So what you'll do is you'll click these three boxes, click start, plug in the quad. After the first beep, you'll click stop. Then you go ahead and click next. This shows output calibration for the motors. So we're going to test out motor 1. Just click start, drag the slider until the motor starts to move. As you can see, we have motor 1 moving now. And you're just going to want to do it until it just starts moving smoothly. So these are about 1164 for motor 1. Now we're going to do motor 2. Motor 3. Motor number 4. Motor number 5. And lastly, motor number 6. Cord was in the way. Try that again. Click stop. Click next. Now this is initial tuning for a quad. You can click generic hex OY6, and that should be fine. Click next. Click save, and we're done with the initial setup of the quad. I'm going to be using the PIDs from the 250 Quad X. That's a good starting point. Then I'll release some. You'll hear the ESCs rebooting. Now we're going to click on Transmitter Setup Wizard. It'll say disarm for your safety. Click OK. Click next. Go ahead and turn on your transmitter. Alright, let's see if we can get this all on camera here, okay? Here's my DX6 I'm going to be using for this particular build. We're going to be doing acro. Click next. This is a mode 2. Now we're going to move what it says on the screen. So it's moving up and down. We're going to move that stick up and down. It's moving right and left. We're going to move that stick. Moving down. Moving that. You're just going to copy what you see on the screen. Then you're going to use your flight mode switch. Which, let's see what this is here. And you just flip that flight mode switch a couple times, it'll move to the next one. These are accessories. You can just click next on these. Okay, now you're going to center all your sticks, and I'm going to have to set you down to do this, but you just follow the on-screen prompts, and I'll show you in a second. So you just move your sticks around in all directions. Don't pay too much attention if they're going the wrong direction at this point. Also flip your flight mode switches. You'll see it respond on the screen. Go ahead and click next. Now here's where if, see I'm pushing down on the elevator, but on the screen it's going up. So go ahead and go up here and go to pitch. Click on the checkbox and it will reverse that channel for you. Now check all the other channels. Looks like roll is backwards. So now we have that stick done. Roll looks good. And also yaw is backwards. So click that. Double check those. Click next. Now basically you're just gonna, it's another screen to test it, make sure everything's working. So flip all your switches, make sure everything is going in the right directions, and then click next. I like to use yaw right for my arming sequence. Now at this point go ahead and click save. Now you can go ahead and unplug your quadcopter. go ahead and unplug your battery from your quadcopter, and we're going to go to flight mode switch settings. Since I am using a 2-position switch, we're going to be using stabilize 1 and 3. If you're using a 3-position, you can use 1, 2, and 3. Basically, you're going to use one at bank 1. I won't go into more detail about that, but just keep them on bank 1 for now. I'm going to be doing, let's see, for this Y6 to start out, we'll do attitude and gratitude for tuning, and then we'll move it to rate at a later time. Okay, so you're going to want to do attitude, access lock. Always make sure the yaw axis is access lock, I like to say. So, and then for the second one, if we want to flip, we're going to have it in ratitude, access lock. Click save. Now we'll go ahead and go to the PID screen and click on advanced. So you go to stabilization, click advanced, click use advanced configuration. Now I'm going to input some figures into here, and then I'll also upload those on the screen so you have a nice base point for tuning your quadcopter. Alright, so we've gone ahead and inputted those numbers. I put them up on the screen for you. It's a nice basic starting point for you. I will release some more refined PADs at a later date. So let's go back to the quad and finish the build. You can go ahead and click save in the bottom corner and disconnect your board. Disconnect. It's going to go up really fast.
Okay. I can't see it anymore.
Oh, okay, now I get it.
You ready?
Yep.